payback of a loan that I made to a DEA operative who's working in this covert operation at this time.
Before the cocaine empire, before the cartel assassins, before the conspiracy theories and government scandals, Barry Seal was just a kid from Baton Rouge who loved airplanes more than anything else in the world. But somehow, that same kid would grow up to become one of the biggest drug smugglers in American history. A man trusted by the Medellín Cartel, investigated by federal agents, rumored to have ties to intelligence agencies, and eventually murdered in a cartel hit that looked straight out of a war movie. Most people know Barry Seal from American Made, where Tom Cruise plays him as this charming, reckless pilot, bouncing between the CIA, drug cartels, and wild adventures with a grin on his face. The movie is fun, fast, and chaotic, but the real story was darker, smarter, and way more dangerous than what Hollywood showed. The real Barry Seal wasn't some clueless guy who accidentally fell into crime. He was ambitious, fearless, and extremely good at what he did. By the time the government finally closed in on him, he had already become one of the most valuable smugglers in the Western Hemisphere. And the craziest part is that some of the most unbelievable parts of the story are actually true. He really was a commercial airline captain. He really flew massive cocaine shipments into the United States. He really worked as a federal informant. He really photographed cartel members during undercover missions. And he really ended up caught between the U.S. government and some of the deadliest criminals alive. Health Wealth Diary presents the real story of Barry Seal from the movie American Made. Barry Seal was born Adler Berryman Seal in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Long before the money, drugs, and violence, he was just a teenager obsessed with aviation. Flying came naturally to him in a way that shocked the people around him. While most kids his age were thinking about cars, sports, or school, Barry was already spending his time in the air. He earned his student pilot certificate at 16 years old and got his private pilot's license at 17. One of his instructors later described him as a naturally gifted pilot, someone who handled airplanes with unusual confidence and instinct. Even as a teenager, Barry already had the mindset that would later define his life. He didn't just love flying. He saw it as opportunity. He started a small business flying advertising banners behind planes, turning aviation into money before he was even an adult. That combination of talent, ambition, and risk-taking became the foundation of everything that came later. In the early 1960s, Seal joined the Louisiana Army National Guard and trained with the 20th Special Forces Group. He completed airborne training and later served in communications. Years later, this military background became part of the mystery surrounding him. Some people believed his training and connections explained how he later moved so comfortably through covert operations, smuggling networks, and alleged intelligence circles. One strange detail from this period still stands out today. During his Civil Air Patrol days, Barry Seal reportedly met Lee Harvey Oswald before Oswald assassinated John F. Kennedy. There's no evidence the relationship was anything significant, but it became one of those bizarre little moments that made Barry Seal's life feel connected to major historical events in strange ways. At that point, though, nobody could have imagined where his life was headed. To everyone around him, Barry just looked like a talented young pilot with a bright future ahead of him. In 1964, Barry Seal got hired by Trans World Airlines. For a young pilot, this was a huge achievement. TWA was one of the biggest airlines in America, and Barry quickly rose through the ranks. He became a flight engineer, then first officer, and eventually a captain. flying a Boeing 707 aircraft on international routes across Europe. At only 26 years old, he became one of the youngest 707 captains in the company's history. On the outside, Barry looked like the perfect success story. He wore the sharp airline uniform, traveled internationally, and carried himself like a confident professional. But behind the scenes, another side of his life was already growing. The movie American Made makes it seem like Barry only drifted into crime later, but the truth is that he had already started moving into illegal operations long before cocaine entered the picture. By the early 1970s, Seal was involved in weapons smuggling connected to anti-Castro Cuban groups. He was running dangerous operations while still working as an airline pilot. In 1972, everything nearly collapsed when he was arrested in connection with a plot involving more than 300 pounds headed toward Mexico. The airline fired him. That moment changed his life forever. Losing TWA destroyed his respectable public image, but it also removed the last piece of stability, keeping him connected to normal society. Once Barry lost the airline job, there was nothing left stopping him from fully entering the underground world. And Barry Seal was very, very good at operating underground. At first, Barry Seal smuggled marijuana. The profits were already huge compared to ordinary jobs, but then cocaine exploded across America during the late 1970s, and suddenly, the stakes became much bigger. Barry immediately recognized what was happening. Cocaine wasn't just another drug trend, it was a gold rush, and Barry Seal had the perfect skills for it. Seal knew how to fly low beneath radar systems, land on isolated airstrips, navigate storms, modify aircraft, and avoid law enforcement. He wasn't just a pilot anymore. He was becoming a highly specialized transportation expert for the criminal underworld. One major turning point happened after he was arrested in Honduras during a smuggling operation connected to Ecuador. Most people would have panicked, sitting in a foreign jail. Barry started making connections instead. While locked up, he built relationships with traffickers, smugglers, and pilots who would later connect him directly to the Medellín Cartel. That was the moment his world truly changed. Soon, Barry wasn't just moving marijuana around Louisiana anymore. He was entering the international cocaine business, working with the organization that would become the most infamous cartel in history. By the early 1980s, the Medellín Cartel was making unimaginable amounts of money from cocaine. Demand in the United States was exploding, and cartel leaders needed pilots capable of transporting huge shipments safely into America. Barry Seal became one of their most valuable assets. Unlike the movie version, the real relationship between Barry and cartel leaders like Pablo Escobar was more professional than personal. Barry wasn't partying around with cartel bosses every day, like some celebrity criminal. What made him important was his reliability. He delivered results, and in the drug world, results mattered more than anything. At his peak, Barry Seal reportedly earned as much as $500,000 for a single smuggling flight. The scale of his operation became enormous. He managed multiple aircraft, recruited additional pilots, coordinated drop zones, and organized ground crews to recover shipments after planes flew low over remote Louisiana swamps and dropped duffel bags packed with cocaine. Investigators later described the amount of money surrounding Barry Seal as almost absurd. There were stories about hidden cash everywhere, buried money, suitcases full of bills, stacks of currency so massive that even Barry supposedly lost track of some of it. By 1983, authorities estimated that he had made around $60 million smuggling cocaine into the United States. Barry Seal had officially become one of the richest smugglers in America. But becoming that successful created a huge problem. He had become impossible to ignore. By the early 1980s, Barry Seal's operation had become way too large to stay hidden in Louisiana. Federal agents, state police, and drug investigators were starting to notice strange aircraft activity, suspicious flights, and rumors about massive cocaine shipments moving through the South. Barry knew the heat was getting too close, so he moved part of his operation to a tiny town that would later become legendary in conspiracy circles, Mena, Arkansas. At first glance, Mena looked completely harmless. Small town, quiet airport, barely 5,000 people. The kind of place where nothing exciting is supposed to happen. But according to investigators, smugglers, journalists, and later conspiracy researchers, that little airport became one of the strangest locations connected to the drug wars of the 1980s. Barry used the airport mainly for aircraft maintenance, modifications, and logistics. His planes were upgraded with larger fuel systems, improved avionics, and changes designed to maximize cargo capacity for smuggling flights. The operation was sophisticated. These weren't random criminals throwing drugs into pickup trucks. Barry's organization functioned almost like a private aviation company running covert missions. And this is where the story starts getting seriously murky. Because over the years, people began asking a dangerous question. Why did Barry Seal seem protected for so long? Some believed federal agencies were quietly allowing parts of the operation because Seal was useful. Others claimed the airport was connected to covert Cold War activity tied to the Iran-Contra era. Rumors exploded that guns, money, and drugs were moving through Mena, while powerful people looked the other way. Now, to be clear, a lot of those theories were never fully proven. Even today, arguments about Mena are still controversial. But one thing investigators eventually confirmed was that Barry Seal absolutely did use the airport for smuggling-related activity during the early 1980s. And once the public heard the words drug smuggling, CIA rumors, and Arkansas in the same sentence, the story took on a life of its own. The airport became legendary, and Barry Seal became even more dangerous. Barry had spent years outsmarting law enforcement, but by 1981, federal agencies were fully aware that something big was happening. DEA agents in Florida started tracking Seal's activity and eventually launched an undercover operation targeting drug pilots and trafficking networks. That investigation became known as Operation Screamer, and Barry Seal was one of the biggest targets. Federal agents used informants and undercover contacts to slowly build a case against him. Eventually, an undercover DEA agent negotiated a fake deal involving more than 1,000 pounds of methaqualone tablets, also known as Quaaludes. Seal thought he was arranging another profitable smuggling operation, but the government was building evidence piece by piece. Then in 1983, the hammer finally dropped. Barry Seal was indicted on multiple federal charges connected to conspiracy, drug distribution, and smuggling operations. After years of flying under the radar, one of the biggest traffickers in America was finally cornered. And this is where the story takes another crazy turn. Because Barry Seal didn't just panic, he made himself useful. Seal knew something important. He had information nobody else had. He knew routes, pilots, cartel logistics, money operations, and most importantly, he knew people connected to the Medellín Cartel. So instead of quietly accepting prison time, Barry tried to cut deals with the government. At first, different task forces rejected him. Even when he mentioned connections to cartel figures, like the Ochoa family, agents weren't immediately convinced. But Barry kept pushing. Eventually, he reached the South Florida Task Force, a massive anti-drug operation connected to then Vice President George H.W. Bush. That changed everything. Because now Barry Seal wasn't just a smuggler anymore. Now he was becoming an informant. And suddenly, one of the biggest drug traffickers in America was working with the federal government. In March 1984, Barry Seal officially signed an agreement to work as a DEA informant. Facing a possible 10-year prison sentence, he offered the government something far more valuable than drugs or money: access. So instead of locking Barry away immediately, federal authorities decided to use him. And honestly, Barry was perfect for undercover work. He could talk like a smuggler because he was one. He understood cartel behavior. He understood aviation. And most importantly, cartel members trusted him. The government quickly designed an operation where Barry would arrange cocaine deals with cartel figures while secretly gathering evidence for future prosecutions. To protect himself, Barry had previously used the fake identity Ellis Mackenzie while working with cartel contacts. Using that same alias, he set up meetings that eventually brought him face to face with some of the most infamous traffickers alive. And this is one thing the movie actually got right. Barry Seal really did help gather evidence against cartel leadership, including Pablo Escobar himself. In April 1984, Seal flew into Medellín for meetings involving Escobar and members of the Ochoa family. Soon afterward, plans were arranged for a major cocaine shipment connected to Nicaragua. That operation would later become one of the most controversial moments in the entire story. Because suddenly, Barry Seal wasn't just involved with drug trafficking anymore. Now his story was colliding with Cold War politics, the Reagan administration, Nicaragua, and allegations involving covert government operations. And once that happened, the situation became deadly. By 1984, Barry Seal wasn't just some smuggler trying to save himself anymore. He had become one of the most valuable undercover assets the DEA had ever used against the Medellín Cartel. And the next operation they planned would turn into one of the most controversial drug investigations of the entire decade. The target was Nicaragua. At the time, the Cold War was still raging, and the United States government was obsessed with stopping the spread of communist influence in Latin America. Nicaragua's Sandinista government had already become a huge political issue for President Ronald Reagan and his administration. So when Barry Seal claimed cartel traffickers were working with people connected to the Sandinistas, federal agencies saw a massive opportunity. Seal arranged meetings with cartel figures including Pablo Escobar and members of the Ochoa family. According to his account, the traffickers were planning to use Nicaragua as part of a growing cocaine transportation network. Whether every detail of Seal's version was true is still debated today, but what happened next became national news. The original plan was for Seal to transport cocaine, while hidden cameras secretly photographed everyone involved in the operation. The DEA and other federal agencies hoped the evidence would directly connect cartel leadership to Nicaraguan officials and create grounds for future prosecutions. The Reagan administration immediately saw political value in the evidence. To them, the pictures appeared to prove that communist-linked figures inside Nicaragua were connected to international cocaine trafficking. The photos became explosive propaganda during the Cold War. But almost immediately, controversy exploded too. Journalists, congressional investigators, and critics began questioning parts of the story. Some challenged whether certain individuals in the photos were actually government officials. Others argued that the administration exaggerated the evidence for political reasons. Reporters later pointed out inconsistencies involving airfields, military claims, and the identities of some of the people connected to the operation. Still, one thing was absolutely real. Barry Seal had successfully infiltrated the cartel at the highest levels, and that made him incredibly dangerous. Because once the cartel realized their trusted pilot was secretly working with the U.S. government, his life expectancy dropped fast. After the Nicaragua operation, the DEA had huge plans for Barry Seal. Federal agents hoped to continue using him to build cases against cartel leaders, map trafficking routes, and eventually arrest major figures outside Colombia, where extradition would be easier. But then, somebody talked. In June 1984, information connected to the undercover Nicaragua operation began leaking publicly. Soon afterward, a major article appeared in the Washington Times describing evidence linking Nicaragua's Sandinista government to cocaine trafficking. The article never fully revealed every detail of the operation, but it revealed enough. Enough for cartel members to start asking questions. Enough for them to realize somebody close to them was cooperating with the Americans. Enough to destroy Barry Seal's cover. And once that happened, there was no going back. The leak ended Barry Seal's undercover usefulness almost overnight. The cartel now knew their pilot was informing. And in the cartel world, informing was unforgivable. Once Barry Seal's identity as an informant became public, the situation turned terrifying almost immediately. Up until that point, Barry had survived because he was useful. The cartel made money with him. The government made cases with him. But now both worlds had collided, and Barry was standing directly in the middle. The Medellín Cartel didn't just see him as a snitch. They saw him as a traitor, and betrayal was something the cartel answered with violence. According to later testimony, cartel leaders began discussing Barry Seal's death almost immediately after learning the truth. High-level trafficker Max Mermelstein later testified that the cartel offered $500,000 to whoever killed Barry and $1 million if he was captured alive and brought back to Colombia. Think about that for a second. $1 million just to hand him over breathing. That tells you how badly they wanted him. And Barry knew it too. One day, he reportedly walked into a room and casually told people there was now a contract on his life. But the scary part is that Barry still acted like he could survive it. That was one of his biggest personality traits throughout his life. He genuinely believed he could outsmart almost anyone. Federal agents warned him. Friends warned him. Even people close to him later said Barry underestimated how serious the danger had become. Because by that point, the cartel wasn't just angry. They were embarrassed. Even while hiding from cartel assassins, Barry Seal was still drowning in legal problems inside the United States. He spent much of 1985 testifying in major federal cases connected to drug trafficking, bribery, and cartel operations. Everywhere he went, he was surrounded by danger. And the craziest part? The government still kept using him. In many ways, Barry had become the government's star witness. But not everyone in law enforcement trusted him. A lot of agents absolutely hated Barry Seal's guts. To them, he wasn't some heroic undercover operative. He was still a massive drug trafficker who had flooded America with cocaine for years. Some investigators were furious watching him avoid prison time, while smaller criminals got destroyed by the justice system. And honestly, they had a point. By 1985, Barry had already admitted involvement with staggering amounts of cocaine smuggling. Yet because of his value as an informant, his sentences kept getting reduced. Then came Judge Frank Polizzola in Louisiana. And this part of the story feels almost unbelievable. Polizzola openly hated Barry Seal. During sentencing, he reportedly described people like Seal as the lowest, most despicable people he could imagine. But because of agreements between federal agencies and prosecutors, the judge couldn't simply throw Barry in prison forever like he wanted. So instead, he did something many people later described as practically a death sentence. He ordered Barry Seal to spend every night at a Salvation Army halfway house in Baton Rouge from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. during his probation. No bodyguards, no weapons, no freedom to disappear. Barry Seal, one of the most wanted men in the cartel world, was now sleeping every night at the exact same public location. The cartel couldn't believe their luck. Even Barry reportedly told friends, "They made me a clay pigeon." And honestly, he was right. On February 19, 1986, Barry Seal drove to the Salvation Army Community Treatment Center in Baton Rouge like he had done many nights before. He arrived in his white Cadillac and parked in the lot outside the building. What he didn't know was that cartel assassins were already waiting for him. Hidden behind donation boxes nearby sat a gunman armed with a suppressed MAC-10 submachine gun. The second Barry opened his car door and stepped out, the assassin rushed forward and opened fire. The bullets ripped through Barry almost instantly. He was hit multiple times in the head and body and died right there in the parking lot. Just like that, one of the most infamous smugglers in American history was gone. The killers tried escaping immediately, but investigators moved fast. Several Colombian suspects connected to the assassination were arrested, including Luis Carlos Quintero Cruz, Miguel Vélez, and Bernardo Antonio Vázquez. During the investigation, witnesses, fingerprints, forensic evidence, and cartel testimony all pointed toward a murder ordered by the Medellín Cartel. After Barry Seal's murder, his story should have ended there. Drug smuggler turns informant. Cartel puts a hit on him. He gets assassinated. Simple. Except Barry Seal's story was never simple. Because almost immediately after his murder, people started connecting his life to one of the biggest political scandals in American history, the Iran-Contra affair. And once that happened, Barry Seal stopped being viewed as just a smuggler. He became a conspiracy legend. The Iran-Contra affair revealed that people connected to the U.S. government had secretly helped sell weapons to Iran and used money connected to those deals to support the Contras in Nicaragua. The operation involved covert funding, hidden logistics, political deception, and intelligence activity operating in the shadows. So when people learned that Barry Seal had flown missions connected to Nicaragua, cartel trafficking, and covert-style operations during that exact same era, the theories exploded. Some people became convinced Barry Seal was secretly working with the CIA while smuggling drugs. According to this theory, Seal wasn't just transporting cocaine for profit. He was allegedly helping move weapons and money connected to anti-communist operations in Latin America. The idea sounded insane, but then people started noticing weird details. Why had Barry operated so openly for so long? Why did authorities seem unable to stop him earlier? Why was he connected to covert flights, intelligence rumors, and military-style operations? Why did Mena, Arkansas, keep appearing in stories connected to secret activity? And why did Barry himself constantly hint that he had government connections? But here's the important part. There has never been definitive proof that Barry Seal worked for the CIA in the way conspiracy theories claim. Former FBI agent Del Hahn, who investigated Seal and later wrote Smuggler's End, The Life and Death of Barry Seal, strongly rejected many of the rumors. Hahn argued that people exaggerated Seal's intelligence connections and transformed scattered truths into giant conspiracies. Still, even Hahn acknowledged that Seal's story overlapped with some incredibly suspicious moments in American history. When American Made came out, audiences loved it because the movie felt wild, fast, and almost unbelievable. But director Doug Liman himself admitted something important. The film was never meant to be a true biopic. In fact, Liman literally described it as a fun lie based on a true story. And honestly, that's the perfect description. Some parts of the movie are surprisingly accurate. Barry really was a TWA pilot. He really became a major smuggler. He really worked with cartel traffickers and later became a DEA informant. He really flew covert-style operations tied to Nicaragua. And yes, he really did become insanely rich. But the movie changes a lot too. For starters, the real Barry Seal looked nothing like Tom Cruise. The actual Seal was overweight, older looking, and nicknamed El Gordo, the Fat Man, by cartel associates. Tom Cruise plays him like this hyper-confident action hero, while the real Barry looked more like a tired southern businessman who happened to run a cocaine empire. The movie basically compresses years of smuggling, intelligence rumors, and political scandals into one crazy adventure story. And honestly, Hollywood almost had to do that, because the real story is so complicated, it barely sounds real anyway. But there's one thing the movie actually captured pretty well: Barry Seal's personality. Almost everybody who knew him said the same thing. Barry was charismatic. People liked him even when they knew he was dangerous. DEA agents reportedly enjoyed working with him. Pilots respected him. Even people he screwed over sometimes admitted they still liked the guy afterward. That charm became one of his biggest survival tools. In American Made, Barry Seal's brother-in-law is the character JB, played by Caleb Landry Jones. JB steals Barry's money, acts reckless, attracts police attention, and eventually gets blown up in a cartel car bombing. That entire storyline was fictional. But Barry did have a real ex-brother-in-law involved in his operation, William Bottoms. William Bottoms was the brother of Barry's first wife, Barbara Bottoms, and unlike JB, he was actually deep inside the smuggling business. Barry recruited him as a pilot during the expansion of his cocaine operation around 1980. According to investigators and later reports, Bottoms became one of the main pilots flying loads for Seal, while Barry handled planning and logistics. Unlike the JB character, though, William Bottoms was never killed in a car bombing and wasn't portrayed in the movie. Hollywood basically invented JB to create emotional tension and show how dangerous the cartel was becoming around Barry's family. In American Made, Monty Schaefer, played by Domhnall Gleeson, is this mysterious CIA operative who recruits Barry Seal, gives him covert missions, moves him around politically, and basically acts as Barry's handler throughout the story. In real life, there was no actual Monty Schaefer. The character was essentially a Hollywood mashup of multiple government connections, rumors, and agencies tied to Barry Seal's life. Alejandro Etta played Jorge Ochoa, who was actually one of the most important people in Barry Seal's life story, even though the film kinda treats him like just another cartel guy. Jorge was one of the founding members of the Medellín Cartel, alongside Pablo Escobar. The Ochoa family was insanely wealthy, even before cocaine trafficking exploded. Unlike Pablo, who came from poorer beginnings. The Ochoas were already upper-class cattle ranchers and horse breeders in Colombia. A lot of people actually viewed them as the business side of the cartel, while Escobar became the violent public face. In 1984, Jorge Ochoa was arrested in Spain, and Barry Seal signed affidavits and agreed to testify as part of U.S. extradition efforts, trying to bring Ochoa to America. According to people involved in the case, the second Barry signed those documents, everyone knew he was basically signing his own death warrant. Multiple witnesses later testified that cartel leadership, including Jorge Ochoa, approved the contract on Barry's life. One cartel witness even claimed Jorge personally ordered Seal's murder after Barry became an informant. One of the biggest differences between American-made and real life is the way the movie portrays Barry Seal's personal life. In the film, Barry's wife is Lucy Seal, played by Sarah Wright. She's shown as loud, suspicious, emotional, and constantly aware that Barry is involved in something illegal. Throughout the movie, she questions him, fights with him, worries about the money, and slowly realizes how dangerous their life has become. But in real life, Barry's wife was named Deborah Dubois Seal, and according to her, she had almost no idea how deep Barry really was in the drug world. Barry met Debbie in the early 1970s after he had already started moving into smuggling operations. At the time, Debbie was working as a cashier at a restaurant in Louisiana. Debbie eventually married Barry in 1974, becoming his third wife. In reality, Barry Seal's personal life was messy and complicated. He had multiple marriages, several children, secretive business dealings, and constant disappearances connected to his smuggling activity. Altogether, Barry had 6 children, not 3 like the movie suggests. Barry Seal's life sounds like fiction because it almost was. He went from gifted pilot to cartel smuggler to millionaire informant caught between the U.S. government and the deadliest drug traffickers in the world. Along the way, his story became tangled with the Medellín Cartel, undercover DEA operations, Cold War politics, and conspiracy theories that still survive today. American Made turned his story into a fast, funny, adrenaline-filled Hollywood ride. But the real story was darker, messier, and far more dangerous. Real people died. Governments panicked. Cartels hunted enemies across countries. And Barry Seal somehow stood in the middle of all of it, while believing he could keep flying forever. Because Barry Seal represents a type of person that almost feels unreal. A man talented enough to fly anywhere, bold enough to work with anyone, and reckless enough to think he could outsmart everybody. For a while, he actually did, until the day he couldn't. And that's the real tragedy of Barry Seal. Thanks for watching. Food for thought. Did Barry Seal die because he betrayed the cartel, or because he became a liability to everyone around him? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe to the Health Wealth Diary.